Got an Odin. Hey, what's up and welcome everyone to another Warzone Academy video. And today we're taking this gloomy, doomy, boring, kind of hazy, not very saturated photo of Warzone and changing it to this. Or we'll take the outside where it's, you know, not much color to it, kind of boring, a little hazy, and change it to this. Much brighter, more colorful, easier to spot enemies. And you've got a lot more contrast in color. It's a lot more fun to roam around. But more importantly, this Superstore inside of buildings. It's dark, it's gloomy, it's tough to see your enemies. These are the default settings in Warzone. And changing it to this, bright, colorful. You can see your enemies in the shadows. This is going to change the way you play Warzone. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Warzone Academy. If you want to get better at Warzone, whether it's through settings, whether it's through tips and tricks and tactics, or the loadouts, this is the place to be. Make sure to subscribe if you find value in this style of content. Today, we are talking all about graphic settings. So there are some graphic settings that everyone can change, whether it's PC or console, and then there's some that only PC players have the benefit of changing. But all of them will help you spot your enemies, because we talk about gunplay tactics, but if you can't spot your enemies first, then there's no point to talking about those. So without further ado, let's jump into the Warzone and talk about the options that we have. If you're interested in future Warzone Academy videos, I have the playlist linked below and also at the end of today's video. But let's get into it. All right, so as you guys can see, this is what Warzone looks like on completely default settings. This is what you spawn into. And keep in mind, I'm not talking about overlays for myself. I'm not talking about how to make this game look better as a creator. This is what I see in game. So for starters, this game is very, very dark. Trying to find people in hidden places, especially like Superstore or underneath prison, all the way in the catacombs, it's terrible. So the first thing that I do is I add brightness. You know, they say barely visible. No, sir. I want to be able to see everything. So this brightens up the game, especially in areas like this where it's really dark to see inside these cubbies. You'll be able to pick people out a lot easier. Now let's start talking about color. Okay, color is pretty bland. It's pretty meh. It's nothing to write home about. So what I do is I go into general settings and I add the Deuteranopia and I have it set to both. You can already tell just alone, even inside of this menu, look at the blues that it pulls out. Much bluer through all of here. And then even outside, it adds a lot more color. I feel like it makes the gold on my weapons pop a lot more. And it really starts to make the map pop. You'll be able to see things a lot better. Things are going to feel a lot more colorful. It's not going to feel as depressing when you die. It's not going to be as corny as, let's say, Blackout. You know, Blackout had a very vibrant, almost cartoonish color scheme to it. This is a nice, healthy medium. Unfortunately, this is kind of where things stop for the console players. You can do some tweaking with your monitor settings if you have, you know, a gaming monitor or even a TV. You can tweak those settings. But assuming all else is equal, here are some things that only PC players can do. Now, keep in mind for console players, if you're ever considering upgrading to a PC, this may be a little kicker for you to decide that. I've got anxiety right now because players are landing around me and I really want to get this video done. I'm a red threat, by the way, but we're going to go with it. So, something only PC players can do is you open up your GeForce Experience tab, or you just press Alt F3. If you're not familiar with the game filter, just press Alt F3, or by default, Alt Z, and that'll pull you into the overlay. And look at this. This is what the game is meant to look like. I'm going to show you how to set it up, but you just need to see the befores and the afters. This game looks incredible with the correct filters. It pulls away this ugly yellowish tinge, this ugly green tinge, and now the game looks absolutely phenomenal, sharp, colorful. And this is the true potential of what not only a PC can do, but what this game really should look like. They should do a color patch, something to make this game look better. I'm going to show you how to pull off this color settings with these 3 adjustments right here as soon as I kill the people below me. 1 second. All right, well, now that that's handled, once again, you just go into your control panel, Alt-Z or Alt-F3, and you're going to add 3 things. So the first one that you're going to add, starting off at absolute 0, is color. We want to add more color to this game. So you can add color, intensity, and temperature. I don't mess with the temperature. I do change the color to 20%, which pulls away some of these really bad, like greenish tones, but I don't have it as strong. I only bring it to about 18%. And then from there, I up the vibrance quite a bit. That's what really makes it from a black and white all the way to a nice, colorful game. I don't max it out at 100, but I do go to about 55. It's all personal preference for that. It's basically a saturation filter. But as you can see, it takes away, you know, kind of that yellowish, greenish hue from your game and makes it a lot cleaner. Okay, next up that we add a brightness and contrast. For the brightness and contrast filter, I have nothing for exposure. I bring the contrast up to about 30%. I bring the highlights way down, though, because the game gets very, very overexposed, and I'll show you what that looks like here in a moment. And then the shadows, I put them to -30. That basically brings out the shadows so the game isn't as dark, and I'll show you the value of that here in a moment as well. And then finally, the last thing that we add is sharpening. And for sharpening, what I add is +70, and then I ignore film grain. Basically, you don't want any of the unnecessary, right? Film grain is sometimes put into the games. Generally, most people have film grain turned all the way off. You don't want to make that any sharper. Only thing you want to make sharper is things like text. Like, look how much tighter and sharper the text is down in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And even the logos makes it so much nicer to view text, especially like names, kills, score counts, all that stuff. If I add a sharpness filter as well, all 3 of those combined really make the game pop. All right, so as I mentioned, you have some personal preferences that you can change with both the highlights and the shadows. Now, vibrance you can change just basically to make the color pop however you want it, but for brightness, it's actually extremely important that you get it correct for your own specific needs. So if you have the highlights turned up way too much, you're going to see that the game gets very, very bright, and you get what's called, overexposure, where you're actually losing the detail. It's not that it's just bright, but you're genuinely losing the detail. So as you see, as I bring this highlights back, I begin to get some of the, features back into the clouds. I can see the lines in the clouds. So adjust your highlights. I generally keep mine around -60, and I understand the game's going to be bright. Because we up the contrast, the game is going to be bright. But I'm not losing so much detail. The entire game is all very visible for me to see. Only time I lose detail is if I'm looking directly into the sun. And even if you're looking at an enemy towards the direct side of the sun, guess what? You can still see their outline. So it's going to be a little bright if you're looking right into it, but outside of that, the rest of the game is going to be the brightness that it needs to be. So what you can do is you can go into Superstore or some other really dark area in the map, and you pull out your settings. Fortunately for you guys, I've gone through the frustration of doing this, so if you want to just trust me and apply the settings that I have. But as you can see, when you mess with the shadows, that's what makes it harder and harder to see. If you keep it stock, you've got some really deep black colors, but it makes it so much more difficult to spot enemies, especially those who are wearing dark skins. And so what you can do, even though you're up in the contrast, you can pull out the shadows a little bit. I've pulled them out to 30%, which kind of lose some of your high dynamic range, but it allows you to see so much easier than you normally would, especially in stock. So play around with your settings how you want. Everything's going to be to, each person's own personal taste. I don't feel like the game looks washed out, but I can see inside of Super as much as I want to. I think I found the perfect balance. So rather than going through all of that pain, I would really encourage you to try this out yourself. And then just one time for all of you on mobile right now, maybe you're not next to your desk, take a quick screenshot of this right here. I'll blow it all up for you. The color, tint colors, 20%, tint intensity, 19, 0 temp, and 54 vibrance. For brightness and contrast, 0% exposure, contrast 31%, highlights -60, shadows -30, gamma, I don't mess with it. Sharpness, you can take +71% and ignore film grain all the way to the right, 100%. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I have a lot of Warzone Academy videos coming. More sniper guides, more movement guides, more jump spots, the places we can use to jump around the map and get all the flanks that we need. If you found value in this video, Please help me reach my goals. I'm really trying to crush out my YouTube goals. I want to hit 500,000 by the end of the year. I know it's a lofty goal. I know it's a really lofty goal, but if you guys are finding value in this, please help me reach it. Thank you all for checking out the video. A lot of content coming your way, and I'll see you all on the next one. Peace.